That's right, this movie came out 2 weeks ago. Well, better late than never. Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for Black Adam, which is the latest movie in the now officially labeled DC Universe. It's no longer called the DC Extended Universe, which I don't think was an official name, but DC Universe is just better. Anyway, this is the 11th movie in the franchise, 12th if you count the theatrical cut to Justice League and the Snyder Cut as two different movies. Whatever your preference is on that debate, this is the latest movie in the franchise, and it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who plays the superhero named Black Adam. The movie takes place in Kahndaq and actually begins with a prologue set in the year 2600 BC. Dwayne Johnson's character is given the same powers that Billy Batson got in Shazam, where he was given these godlike powers by a wizard, and they activate every time he says the word Shazam. However, unlike Billy Batson, who approaches these powers with a sense of wonder, Teth Adam is not very peaceful. He's in fact quite vengeful, to the point where the gods seal him up, only for him to be discovered thousands of years later in the modern day. And soon his reawakening attracts the attention of the Justice Society, who head to Kahndaq to try to stop Black Adam before he kills more people. Now, I actually did see this movie the Thursday it came out. It was the very last thing I did out in the world before I got COVID, and I just had no desire to record much of anything. I mean, I had to do the Halloween ranking video just to put something out on Halloween night, but I just had no desire to record any other videos beyond that. Thankfully, I am now free of COVID. I've tested negative, I'm back out in the real world, and I have enough energy to get on camera and finally review Black Adam so I can tell you how mediocre this movie is. Whenever I saw the trailers for Black Adam, the only thing I could think of is, this looks like a parody of superhero movies. Dwayne Johnson already has been known to make action movies that are just more over the top and goofy. For me, he's our modern day Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he can sell a movie based on his name alone most of the time, and he has a real screen presence. But most of his movies are pretty tongue-in-cheek, and Black Adam seemed to be more serious. However, despite what I thought about the movie before seeing it, it was clear that Dwayne Johnson was committed to this movie and has been trying to get it made for 15 years. He was first announced for the role in 2007, and it's clear he wanted to get this out in the world. He even started promoting it by saying the infamous tagline, "The hierarchy of power in the DC Universe is about to change." And this is just me. This is my own personal opinion, but the hierarchy of power did not change because of Black Adam. And for being a movie that took 15 years to make, it feels like a movie that should have come out 15 years ago. It's not even like this movie is unwatchable, because it's not. It's not even the worst movie in the DC Universe, but it just felt so cliched, so uninspired, so generic, and it's the first superhero movie I've seen since they've really started popping up where I'm starting to feel fatigue. And that's disappointing because there was a lot of potential with some of the stuff that they had in the movie. For example, Dwayne Johnson is as charismatic as ever. I've heard people saying, wow, this is an interesting step for Dwayne Johnson to do something different. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not doing anything more different than he did in Hobbs and Shaw or any of the other Fast and Furious movies. He's just playing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson once again, except he's more villainous this time around. It's not really much of a stretch in terms of acting, but he's still charismatic regardless of how mediocre the rest of the movie is. And the stuff with the Justice Society, I actually liked. Where the hell this group was when Steppenwolf invaded Earth, I don't know, but whatever, we'll just move on from that. I just wish we could have spent more time with them, specifically the younger members, Atom Smasher and Cyclone. These two characters are really fun together, and they hardly do anything. They're just more there to help out and keep the plot moving. They aren't actually characters. Aldis Hodge plays Hawkman, and he does a pretty decent job in the role, but most of his time with Dwayne Johnson is just more them beefing each other up, like trying to see who's better than the other, and it's it kind of got a little too much. The one who really stole the show, however, was Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I think the reason this character works for me so much is mainly because he has the cool Doctor Strange type powers, and he's got that cool helmet. I mean, the bulk of this movie works because it's just cool at points. It's not really all that deep, which is disappointing because there are a few moments throughout the movie where it actually tries to deliver a social commentary about how a government or a force will go into an occupied country not to save the people that are under that occupation, but more because it'll benefit them. And with the Justice Society arriving in Kahndaq just because Black Adam showed up rather than the fact that its people were under government occupation, that's something the movie should have explored. And there are some moments after the first battle with Black Adam and the Justice Society where we have a few characters that bring up this issue, but then it's like the movie goes, yeah, but we really just want to get to the action and see Black Adam destroy things and nearly kill people. So that's upsetting. Okay, upsetting, that's a harsh word to say. It's just more underwhelming and disappointing that the movie didn't decide to go further down that idea. That being said, though, the action is pretty cool. You can see it clearly. There's a lot of points that kind of reminded me of Zack Snyder, which isn't necessarily a positive for me because there's just a lot of slow motion, a lot of pretty bad CG, and possibly the single worst villain of the DC universe. Like, I thought Steppenwolf from the theatrical cut to Justice League was awful. I thought Enchantress was awful in Suicide Squad. But this one really takes the cake. The only thing I really have to talk about right now is the stinger at the end of the movie. Now, Black Adam's been out for 2 weeks. At this point, you've probably seen the movie already, but just in case you haven't, spoilers ahead. At the end of the movie, the villain's defeated, Black Adam is now the savior of Kahndaq, and after the credits roll, he gets interrupted by a transmission from Amanda Waller, once again played by Viola Davis, who's like, okay, Black Adam, you have my attention. And if you dare leave Kahndaq, we have people from other worlds that can stop you. And Black Adam's like, bring it. And then Henry Cavill shows up as Superman and basically says, we need to talk. So, okay, how do I feel about this as a whole? I think much like the rest of the movie, this stinger is just very cliched. Because Henry Cavill coming back as Superman is exciting in a way. The only reason I ever dislike Henry Cavill as Superman is not because of Henry Cavill himself, it's just because Zack Snyder doesn't understand how Superman's supposed to be. He has a complete misunderstanding of the character and frankly doesn't want to get the character. So with Zack Snyder possibly not coming back to the series, I'm willing to give Henry Cavill another chance. I just wish this stinger was more than we need to talk, because it's so cliched and reminded me so much of the terrible stinger from Morbius, which in comparison to the Morbius stinger, this stinger is a masterpiece. In fact, Black Adam as a whole is a masterpiece compared to Morbius. But the stinger itself was just kind of like, it didn't really do much for me. For a movie that was apparently 15 years in the making, it feels like a movie that should have come out 15 years ago, like I said. Considering how much comic book movies have evolved since then, and considering the last two things that we got out of the DC universe, the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, this was a massive downgrade. And I probably shouldn't bring this up because they're two different movies, but when you take a look at Top Gun Maverick, a movie that took about 12 years to make, and was actually supposed to come out earlier but got delayed because of COVID, you can tell that a lot of time was spent making that movie as excellent as it can be, whereas this doesn't really feel like that. And I think it's a real indicator to show, out of the two producer actors here, Dwayne Johnson and Tom Cruise, who is more devoted to the craft. I'm not gonna give this a high recommendation. I'll just say watch at your own risk. There's a lot of fun to be had in the movie. The action's exciting. I like each of the members of the Justice Society, and Dwayne Johnson is fun as Black Adam, but the rest of the movie is just so boring, cliche. It just feels like a movie that's stuck in a completely different decade, and a much darker decade for the genre. That being said, with James Gunn and Peter Safran now in charge of the DC universe, I think we'll see a bright future ahead. So the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. It's just Dwayne Johnson's not going to be the one to change it. And there you go, that's my review for Black Adam. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, go check out my Twitch channel, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, and take care of yourselves.